Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's going on, Ma? Welcome, you guys. It's Thursday. Jesus, it's Thursday here at the watch party. You know, when you're partying and having fun, time just kind of flies. It's good to see you guys. I'm glad you guys showed up. All you guys that are filing in and showing up. Yes, I even started the notification for the stream about 5 minutes behind, but you guys had a good solid 10, 11 minutes to get in here. And number two, I swear I was going to be late again today. I was like planning and ready for it. I was checking my phone to see if my mother was texting me. If you guys weren't here yesterday, I came in a couple minutes late. I was getting text messages like, "You're not coming through, bro. What's the matter? Where you at?" So you know what? It's a full morning I have. I must tell you guys that. There's lots of things that goes into just my ramblings for like an hour straight. But also what it does show is I'm glad you guys are expecting me. It's good stuff. You know, who doesn't want to be looked out for and missed when not around? I mean, I may be adding some extra energy to it just for my own ego, but you know, why not? Anyways, how you guys doing? Let's We've got a lot happening today. As you guys probably saw in the naming there, Hegseth's scandals keep building. So is Donald Trump's racism. He's gone back to some Somalians again. I'm sorry, Somalis again. And also, we've got after Hegseth, we've also got some more of these pardons that are happening. Like they're flying off all over the place, and they're being paid attention to, but I'm not sure how closely they're being paid attention to. And it really goes to what we've been always saying about this president. So there's lots happening. I like to go ahead and get started with these things now that you guys are settled in, got yourselves, your nice morning coffee. Let's go ahead and do this, huh? Shall we? I say, let's start. If the screen would give me an opportunity to, let's start with what it is that's happening with Pete Hegseth here. It's not just the potential war crimes, blowing on boats and survivors hanging out in the water. It's even more.
Well, that IG report has been delivered to Capitol Hill. According to well-placed sources familiar with the Inspector General report on Signalgate, the Pentagon acting Inspector General, after a months-long investigation, concluded Secretary Pete Hegseth, quote, created risks to operational security, and his actions, sharing operational details before the strike was complete on the commercially available app Signal, quote, could have resulted in failed U.S. mission objectives and potential harm to U.S. pilots. The incident in question occurred back in March. Secretary Hegseth shared details including highly sensitive attack plans, air platforms to be used, and flight times for the strikes and when they would occur.
So as you see there, Jennifer Griffin over at Fox News was reporting on this new revelations reports from the IG, the Inspector General, that looked into Pete Hegseth's Signal chat issues. Now, I know we heard about Signal chat back in March when he paid absolutely zero consequences for what it is that he did. But now that this IG report that, of course, this whole entire administration was trying to eliminate more independent investigations into things that they're doing. Now that this one has discovered all this, the news is breaking that, man, this guy's got multiple things. Even worse, he endangered the lives of those folks that went on that strike that he kept hiding behind and saying, how dare you guys criticize our war fighters. What they were criticizing was Pete Hegseth and his incompetence as he used the Signal chat to share all that classified information. But I noticed something there. Jennifer Griffin of Fox News, she's a great reporter who goes straight down the line with reporting these things. She had a previous clash with Pete Hegseth when they were discussing these strikes over these nuclear facilities earlier this year. Do you guys remember that?
Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo Mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance? Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect, but Jennifer, you've been about the worst, the one who misrepresents the most intentionally.
I don't.
What the president says. I'm familiar.
About the ventilation shafts on Saturday night, and in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this
issues.
Was the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here, and I appreciate that.
It was the beginnings of Pete Hegseth beginning to be full of his absolute lack of real gravitas behind the position that he's got, but having all this confidence in how wrong he always is, or in just hiding all the things that he's doing because he knows how wrong he is. That's when he really started. So he was going after Fox News reporters, or I'm sorry, specific reporters there, and Jennifer Griffin. So as she's reporting, then the IG report back on this, I had a little bit of like a thought in my head. I was like, is she like maybe enjoying the fact this guy attacked her for no reason and she was just reporting straight what it was that's happening? Maybe, because she kept exposing his ass.
Back in March, Hegseth was asked why he had shared plans about a forthcoming attack on Yemen on the Signal messaging app.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
What was shared over Signal then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning.
Here are some of the screenshots that The Atlantic received from the Signal chat, because Jeffrey Goldberg was on that chat. And it said, team update, time now, 11:44 Eastern. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch. 12:15 Eastern Standard. F-18's launch, first strike package, 1:45. Trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, should also be on time. Also, strike drones launch. It goes on with dates, with times of the strikes, as well as other platforms that were used. At the end, Hegseth writes on the Signal chat, we are currently clean on OPSEC.
So we've got Fox News reporters that are playing at the time when Pete Hegseth kept denying all these things. There's been no classified information that's been sent over these Signal chats. We were sharing recipes. Upcoming was a little family night dinner, and we were making sure that the casserole was good. No, and then immediately after that, there's Jennifer Griffin exposing exactly what it is that he had in those. That is based off this IG report that we're now finding more information off of everything that they were denying. Let me reference back to the main point of every time I talk on this hour. They're liars. They lied back in March about this. We let it go. We're seeing more information about what it is they lied about. Are we going to do anything about it? We see that they're liars. It's like everywhere. It's like every time they speak. It's not just Fox News that was reporting this, of course. Here's more details of what it is that they found in this report, and also how irresponsible he was with sharing this information. This is over.
On that Signal chat, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth typed in very specific classified information about this imminent attack on Houthi rebels that included manned aircraft as part of the strike package. Now, of course, this all came to light when Jeffrey Goldberg first reported about it in The Atlantic. But since then, there was a bipartisan call for an investigation. The Department of Defense Inspector General carried that out, and that is what now is being made public in some ways. We first reported last night that the investigation, the report went to Secretary Hegseth yesterday morning. It went to the Hill last night. And now we know that, in fact, despite universally saying by Secretary Hegseth and those around him that the information contained in that Signal chat was not classified, the IG said otherwise, that in fact it was considered secret or not for release to any foreign nationals. And they find that if that information, because of the level of classification, had fallen into the wrong hands, including an adversary, it could have put U.S. troops in danger, it could have endangered the mission, and it could have endangered national security. And then finally, as you can see there on the screen, it also said that the secretary improperly used his personal phone for official DoD business, violating DoD policy.
Crazy, right? It's almost like there was a laundry list of bad actions, incompetence, and absolute stupidity that Pete Hegseth is the head of. And it just continued on to more absolute incompetence, stupidity, corruption, and war crimes. Who would have thought someone like Pete Hegseth would expand their stupidity, would expand their incompetence, would then lead to potential war crimes? That admiral, by the way, that they're blaming everything on for these boat bombings, I think they're speaking privately. It's not getting televised in front of congressional committees, maybe senatorial committees. I'm not sure. Somewhere in the legislature about what it is that happened. We'll see what his story is, because now he's squarely under the bus. He'll probably be on board with helping them cleanse this whole thing. But that's the Signal app stuff we're seeing more information on. So you heard all that. Like I played two different sources from it. We talked about how bad this whole thing looks, but somehow this is always the way that they have some kind of explanation or excuse for what is that happened and what is it they've done and what is they've been busted for. Caitlin Collins showed what Pete Hegseth's response to all this was.
The secretary responded tonight by posting, quote, "No classified information, total exoneration, case closed." But Secretary Hegseth's messages included material from documents that were marked classified at the time. And while he has the power to declassify information, of course, we have not seen evidence that he did.
It's just a lie. It's like it's just right in front of us. So again, the next time he speaks, and then the time after that, and the third, the fourth, and the fifth time after that, there should always be a question: is Secretary of War, the Department of War Secretary, why is it that you lied about what it is that we're now seeing right in front of our faces? I mean, when we asked you all the questions at the time, we knew you lied then as well. But can you explain why your department is full of lies? What are you trying to cover up? As I've been saying lately, the good news is that nobody's buying this, including Republican Senator Tom Tillis here.
Secretary Hegseth is framing it as total exoneration. Is that how you view this report that came out today?
No, I think at some point, just take the learning experience and move on. No one can rationalize that as an exoneration. We know that mission information was outside of the classified setting that it was trusted to be in. And, Caitlin, I don't even bring a pen into a classified briefing. We obviously don't have our phones. We don't have our watches. I don't even bring a pen in to make notes, to remove any doubt that there is something that I could have dropped or put in the trash can that I forgot about, because that's how seriously you need to take classified information. Thank God nothing bad happened. Thank God the great decision that the president made to make that strike was successful, but it could have put it at risk. And why would you send the signal that maybe this is okay? Maybe you could be exonerated by leaking information before a critical mission. Just let's move past it.
Well,
isn't it odd? Tom Tillis can blatantly and openly say that no, this doesn't exonerate him. He went to the painstaking details of how when he goes in to see classified information, he doesn't even bring an ink pen in because he wants no sign, no suggestion that he's doing anything wrong because of the level of classified information that he's been privy to. But in that same breath, after talking about how important it is, said after Pete Hegseth has been exposed for doing this blatantly and probably repeatedly because he hid a bunch of stuff, he's still not giving them the information from his phone. He's denied all of that. Somehow the answer from Tillis is he should just take this as a learning experience and move on. Is that any kind of way any politician will talk about how the department, the Secretary of War, would actually, after screwing this up this badly, that they can just move on? Would they say that about opposing parties, a Department of War secretary? Would they be saying things like, well, Joe Biden and them completely screwed this up completely. I mean, endangered servicemen and women, endangered the mission in the first place. Never really got the answers of how effective that mission was in the first place. That's a whole other part of this story. But, oh, well, Joe Biden messed up. I think he should take it as a learning experience and move on. Do you think that'd be his conclusion? I feel like that wouldn't be his conclusion. But the problem is they have those conclusions. They feel like that's some big time stark distancing themselves from this Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump, because Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth's response to all these things are exactly the opposite.
Survivors were actually killed while clinging on to that boat. Should Secretary Hegseth, Admiral Bradley, or others be punished?
I think you're going to find that this is war, that these people were killing our people by the millions, actually, if you look over a few years. I think last year we lost close to 300,000 people were killed. That's not mentioning all the families. Have you seen what happens with the families of not only the people killed, but people that are trying to get their son or their daughter off of this poison that they've been fed? I think you're going to find that there's a very receptive ear to doing exactly what they're doing, taking out those boats. And very soon we're going to start doing it on land too.
So to be clear, you support the decision to kill survivors? after the.
No, I support the decision to knock out the boats, and whoever's piloting those boats, most of them are gone. But whoever are piloting those boats, they're guilty of trying to kill people in our country. Yeah, please.
The answer to the question of are you willing to, is there should be any punishment for Hegseth or this Admiral Bradley that you guys are throwing all this responsibility on, which it's his responsibility too. Is there any punishment for them? I mean, the long-winded way that he went about it was basically, hell no, what are you talking about? We're fascists. What do you mean? Of course we commit war crimes. Why would I punish anyone for doing what I want done? Weird. It's a weird question. So outside of what we're learning about this IG report and this Signal chat details that, I got to be honest, it's not all that surprising. On top of that, we're seeing more on this issue with these boat strikes. As again, it's being, I guess, investigated now. We'll see to the depths of that investigation. But I want to go back to one more aspect of the boat thing. Because the day that this happened with Admiral Alvin Halsey, the 40-year veteran now, he's going to be retiring, who was in charge, who was placed in charge of these operations in the Caribbean. When he resigned, we knew this again, but now we're getting confirmation. The Wall Street Journal reported that according to two Pentagon officials, Hegseth asked Admiral Alvin Halsey to step down, a de facto ouster that was the culmination of months of discord between Hegseth and the officer. It began days after Trump's inauguration in January, and it intensified months later when Halsey had initial concerns about the legality of these lethal strikes on these alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. Kind of like what we would expect. And also, let's not forget, we're also coming off of all this criticism, these calls for executions for these 6 Democrats who said don't follow illegal orders in the military. This is one of the guys that decided not to. I'm going to continue reading about what happened to him because of it. A few weeks after he took over Southern Command, Halsey met with the newly confirmed Hegseth on a secure video conference and received his marching orders. Here's a quote. "You're either on the team or you're not," is what Hegseth told Halsey. "When you get an order, you move out fast and you don't ask questions." Well, it does look like it matches up with what they're saying. Follow illegal orders. Don't ask any questions. Do as I say, because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Here's more. Late in the summer, as the military began striking alleged drug boats, Halsey was initially concerned about murky legal authority for the boat strike campaign, with other military units under separate chains of command also involved, including elite special operations units. Halsey objected that parts of the operations fell outside of his direct control. But even before the boat strikes began, Hegseth had lost confidence in Halsey and was looking to replace him. I posted a little bit about this yesterday over on Instagram, and it was just a quick story. And the main thought, as soon as I read this, was, these guys literally, it's like they have an aversion to integrity. Anybody with integrity, they dislike. Anyone who has any kind of normal process with the rule of law and the way that the military operates, Hegseth has an issue with, and he was already losing confidence. You lose confidence in people with integrity when you have none of it. You're like, what is this guy doing? The right things? We're fucking criminals. Why would we support him? Last bit of details. Tensions between Halsey and Hegseth led to a confrontation at the Pentagon in early October. Air Force General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, was also at this meeting. Hegseth offered no hint of the friction between the two men on an October 16th post on X when he announced Halsey leaving. He said that the admiral has exemplified the highest standards of naval leadership. Why don't you be honest, bro? If you lost confidence in him, if he's got nothing he can do for you, if you guys had all these fights, why don't you say that he's a dishonorable guy and you're forcing him out? But instead, it's all this window dressing. It's more fakeness. Why would you say that he's exemplified the highest standards of naval leadership if you're kicking him out based on the fact that he's exemplifying standards of naval leadership? Because that's nothing that Pete Hegseth and this administration support. It's nothing that they value. They hate this country. I think it's been pretty clear. Maybe one day we'll see it. So there's that. There's a lot happening today. I got something else I want to go to because I saw something come across of one of the victims of one of these pardoned people that Donald Trump has been on a spree pardoning. I'm going to get to her in a second, but first I want to show you guys what it is that we're talking about. I understand it's probably really hard to keep up with all the criminals that Donald Trump is pardoning, but at least we're going to get to possibly some of the reasons why he's doing it. First, here's this liar, Caroline Levitt.
So, separate topic on presidential pardon power. Why did the president commute the sentence of David Gentile recently? He's a private equity executive. He served 12 days out of a 7-year sentence. Prosecutors said he defrauded $1.6 billion with thousands of victims, including veterans, farmers, teachers. Why was he pardoned?
To your first question, that's definitely not a decision for me to make. I would defer you to the Department of War. It's also probably a decision for the president himself to make. As for your second question with respect to that pardon, he issued a commutation for Mr. Gentile, who's the former CEO and co-founder of GBP Capital Holdings. Unlike similar companies, GBP paid regular annualized distributions to its investors. In 2015, GBP disclosed to investors the possibility of using investor capital to pay some of these distributions rather than funding them from current operations. Even though this was disclosed to investors, the Biden Department of Justice claimed it was a Ponzi scheme. This claim was profoundly undercut by the fact that GBP had explicitly told investors what would happen. At trial, the government was unable to tie any supposedly fraudulent representations to Mr. Gentile. In short, again, this is another example that has been brought to the president's attention of a weaponization of justice from the previous administration, and therefore he signed this commutation.
So say that these people were defrauded.
I just read you a very detailed summary of why the commutation was made.
I just read you a laundry list of lies about why this commutation was given. Who cares about facts? Who cares about what was actually said and actually proven in the evidence that was given in these convictions of these guys? So that was Caroline Levitt giving the Trump administration's version of reality. Here's Jake Tapper talking about what has actually happened and what's surrounding the guy that the latest. I mean, there's probably someone right now that paid Trump to get him off hook too. But this is one of the latest of what it is that actually happened to the people that Caroline Levitt and Donald Trump are giving middle fingers to.
The commutation of the 7-year prison sentence for convicted fraudster David Gentile, wiping away any further fines and restitution as well. Gentile is the former CEO and owner of GPB Capital Holdings. He, along with another private equity executive, were convicted in 2024 in what federal prosecutors described as a $1.6 billion scheme, defrauding more than 10,000 investors. Why on earth would President Trump commute the prison sentence of this fraud? Well, here's what the White House said when asked.
And this is another example that has been brought to the president's attention of a weaponization of justice from the previous administration, and therefore he signed this commutation.
Who brought this case to President Trump's attention and claimed it was weaponization? I asked the White House press secretary, Caroline Levitt. She did not respond. I mean, it couldn't have been Trump's handpicked U.S. attorney in New York who brought it to President Trump's attention, because that U.S. attorney in May of this year applauded the 7-year sentence for Gentile. He called it a, quote, well-deserved and should serve as a warning to would-be fraudsters that seeking to get rich by taking advantage of investors gets you only a one-way ticket to jail. So who brought it to President Trump's attention? It couldn't have been the assistant director in charge of the FBI's New York field office, because he said that Gentile and his co-defendant, quote, wove a web of lies to steal more than $1 billion from investors through empty promises of guaranteed profits and unlawfully rerouting funds to provide an illusion of success, unquote. So who was it? And why were they more compelling than the thousands of Americans whom Gentile defrauded?
That's a good question, Jake, because again, that's blowing up that lie that Caroline Levitt told from the beginning, saying the Biden administration called this a Ponzi scheme, because as long as they say Biden and then insert whatever lie they want to tell afterwards, they expect everyone to believe it. So Trump's U.S. attorney applauded the sentence. How is Trump's U.S. attorney Biden? Also, assistant director of this FBI office also talked about how this is a Ponzi scheme and how this guy is corrupt and he's guilty. It's crazy. Also, it's weird because he was convicted. That's the other thing that we usually go off of when it comes to a judicial process here in this country. But this is a fascist state. Why would we care about any of that? They just make things up. But this is what really compelled me to look into this further, because we have these conversations, we have these arguments and debates about what the reality of things are, and we never actually talk to the people who experienced it, who are now seeing these commutations and these pardons come down, and how it affects them, and how their crimes that they're the victims of also affected them. Here's one of those victims. She was on with Jake Tapper too, and I don't think people talk about the extreme nature of what it is that these folks went through.
Carol Ann, thanks you for joining us. You lost nearly $500,000. You have been able to claw back 40,000, but most of it's gone. What was your reaction when you heard that President Trump had commuted Gentile's sentence, so he only served 12 days of a 7-year sentence?
I'm totally disgusted, because it wasn't only myself, it was my elder mother in her 90s and my sister as well. We all got defrauded.
What would you say to President Trump if he were watching right now?
I'd ask him why he did this. It makes no sense. I don't have an answer as to why this guy can do what he did, basically build a Ponzi scheme, walk out scot-free. And you got Bernie Madoff, who had to live it out, and people were returned funds. I had to hire, with the help of Adam, who did a great job, claw back a measly pauper sum of nothing. And it makes no sense to me. I don't understand why.
So Carol Ann,
who bought him off?
Carol Ann, who bought Trump off? Is that what you're asking?
No.
Who bought?
Who bought off David? Gentile off.
Yeah.
Who did Gentile have to pay to get out?
You were on the right track the first time. It was Donald Trump who he paid, or at least he paid someone else to lobby Donald Trump to go ahead and go this route. We'll get to that in a second. But I heard the $500,000 number is what is that particular woman lost. She said along with her sister and her mother all lost 6 figures worth of money to this guy, right? And the first thought I had as well was like, I mean, how much did they already have? Are we really worried about these rich folks? Because the majority of people don't have $500,000 to lose in some kind of Ponzi scheme. I get that immediate thought. But you know what? Why should anybody get robbed by this guy? And then after being robbed by this guy, and even if he stayed in jail, this woman doesn't have much of a way to get her money back. So I have that sympathy, but there was also more than just people, like, I'm not sure what her economic background was. It said blue collar workers, military vets, firefighters, just regular normal people who were all caught up in the same scheme as well. They just weren't interviewed by CNN. But there's a little bit more, because she lost her faith in some things.
When I went to ask for my money back, because I had grief brain, my late husband had just died, and I was told, wonderful products to get into. You've got to do this. Let's get your family into them. Well, you're not really functioning for quite some time after you lose your spouse of many, many years. And when I asked for money back, oh no, they're just waiting. What are they waiting for? Call me in about 6 months. Time went on and there was no money, none.
Do you have any hope of getting back the hundreds of thousands of dollars you lost?
No, I wish. I mean, my mother lost over 100,000. My sister is in the same boat as I am. You lose faith in these type of people. I've lost faith in Wall Street.
That kind of struck me. She's lost faith in Wall Street. You see the way this Wall Street's also one of those entities that we sell off as this, this entity where you create your wealth, which a lot of people do. But as it's more and more corrupt, and more people like, this corrupt guy in the White House manipulate it for their own purposes, it's things like this is what they gear themselves towards, helping the folks who fix the game, who fix the system, defraud people, steal their money. Donald Trump enjoys those folks. Those are the folks that Donald Trump has dinner with and talks about how great things are. While the rest of everyone else is just trying to live that whole American dream that they're making sure you get no chance at receiving or working towards. All that stuff that they always say. You guys saw this lady's attorney sitting there as well. One more chance here to dispel all those lies about how this was not a Ponzi scheme and it wasn't anything that anyone should be worried about. I'm sorry, it was a Biden weaponization of our justice system. Please.
So, Adam, the White House argues this is not a Ponzi scheme, that Gentile did not make any fraudulent statements. They claim this is another example of weaponization by the Biden administration. What's your response to that?
Joseph Nasello, who is the Eastern District's U.S. attorney, said that this was a Ponzi scheme. He was appointed by Trump himself. He said it back in May. So you tell me, was this a political commutation of Mr. Gentile's sentence or not? And why only Mr. Gentile? Why not his partner? His partner's still serving his sentence. And if Mr. Gentile really was innocent, why not give him a full pardon?
We reached out to Gentile's lawyer, who told us no comment.
Gentile's partner is still sitting his dumb ass in jail. Guess he didn't have the money. I guess he didn't have the influence or the connection to someone who could lobby Donald Trump to let them off for whatever kind of kickback or quid pro quo that they were discussing. This is what Donald Trump works on. Maybe it's what JD Vance works on, because I was just wondering a couple weeks ago, what the hell does JD Vance do? Besides, sit in front of audiences and tell really weird, hokey stories that no one gives a damn about. They must be working on their backdoor corrupt dealings. So that's the Ponzi scheme commutation. That was, of course, backed up by people that Donald Trump put in place, and also people who actually worked on it and provided evidence. It's not the only one. Here's another one.
But this one stands out because Trump has pardoned now a former top entertainment executive who was indicted by Trump's own Justice Department less than 5 months ago. Now, this full and unconditional pardon for the Oakview Group co-founder Tim Leiweke was posted online tonight by the Justice Department. It's dated December 2nd. It bears the president's signature, as you can see here. But Leiweke was just indicted 5 months ago by Trump's own antitrust division over accusations that he orchestrated a conspiracy to rig the bidding process for a public university arena in Austin. He's also just pardoned someone who has a history of blasting him online. Look at this. In August 2023, the same day that Trump was indicted for conspiring to overturn the 2020 election, the person that Trump just pardoned, Leiweke, wrote, according to now deleted posts that were seen by CNN, "This isn't political, and God bless Vice President Pence for standing up and fighting for our Constitution and due process. If you have any shred of love for our country, let a jury of peers decide if he is innocent, not you." In another post from February 2024, Leiweke replied to a post that was praising the president's movement as being under God. He responded and said, "Claims the man that doesn't attend any mass on any Sunday, divorced twice, cheated on all 3 wives, paid off porn stars, don't think he is my compass on my God or my faith. World's single greatest con man." Tonight, we reached out to Leiweke for comment, not just on his past comments on President Trump, but also this pardon. He told CNN he doesn't have the words to adequately convey his profound gratitude to the White House and President Trump. He said, "This has been a long and difficult journey for my wife, my daughter, and me. The president has given us a new lease on life."
There's a couple of very stark things in there. So again, this is a different pardon. Trump's own officials in July of this year put this whole thing together and got this guy's ass. But somehow a few months later, I guess it's still the weaponization of Joe Biden's Department of Justice somehow. Maybe someone should have asked them more specifically about this one and see whatever kind of lie they can come up with to try and escape this one. I'm not sure why I still think they're trying to escape anything. They're not trying to. We saw Caroline Leavitt from the beginning tell complete lies, and then when confronted about it, say, all I was doing was reading the lie list that I was given for the day. But also on top of that, this is how these folks' brains work. This is how these folks, rich and connected people in this country, also work. This guy bashed Donald Trump so many different times, how he's a con man, a philanderer, has baby mamas, and all this stuff that he went after him on. And now, after getting his ass saved for whatever reason that he paid enough people to get to this point, now I can't thank the president enough. What a wonderful individual. I can't believe he do this. He gave me and my family a brand new lease on life. So the next time they want you to give a damn about these billionaires, these multimillionaires, and these people who have rich and powerful connections to literally skirt the law, even after being convicted with overwhelming evidence, the next time they want anybody that isn't super rich to have any kind of sympathy for these fucking billionaires, think about how much they think about you when they get their brand new lease on life. If you're looking for your brand new lease on life, do you think these guys who just got their sentences commuted, sorry, and also pardoned, do you really think they're going, you know what? I wish Donald Trump would do something for the little guy? I feel like the answer is no. I feel like they've got middle fingers for you instead. And they're like, well, I'm rich and powerful and connected. Who are you? So fuck those guys. All of them. But if someone like allegedly Luigi Mangione goes and does something about this from these folks who keep siphoning and stealing money from folks, it's gasps and it's outrage. How could this happen? We're only screwing people over. We're only leading people to death as well, too. We're only destroying people's entire lives. What are you guys complaining about? It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Kind of like Donald Trump and his racism. Let's go to this next story, you guys. I think I'm motoring pretty damn good today. You know what? A quick side note. I gave you guys a little bit of inside baseball yesterday with my mom's texting me. I'm trying to like maybe shorten these stories because I know I talk a lot. So maybe cram in 4 stories rather than my normal 3 in this hour. And I think I'm working towards that direction. The only problem with that is I prepare like crazy, so it takes me a while. Hence why I was late yesterday. I'm done giving you guys information. All right, let's go to this next story. I also mentioned how Donald Trump went after Ilhan Omar, generally Somalian populations up in Minnesota, because he's a fucking racist. That's who Donald Trump is. But I was surprised. I saw this last night, and I said, well, I already saw that. He was going after Somalians, and he's pissy, right? No, this is the second time he's done it. The first time it was at his ass-kissing cabinet meeting.
The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, is saying that he's actually proud to have the largest Somali community in the country, and his police chief.
Well, then he's a fool.
Well, his police chief is also saying
I wouldn't be
they
proud to have the largest Somalian. Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. Look, these Somalians have taken billions of dollars out of our country. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud. She tries to deny it now, but you can't really deny it because, it just happened. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota, okay? Minnesota, you have an incompetent governor. You have a crooked governor. He's crooked as hell, but he's incompetent. Waltz he should be ashamed. That beautiful land, that beautiful state, it's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country.
How many different things is Donald Trump claiming are destroying our country as his ass literally destroys the country? Again, is anyone still, holding on to that lie that they denied that he called other countries shithole countries? Because he literally just did right there. It's not a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. These Somalians are taking billions from us. By the way, I just talked about how he's pardoning people who took millions and millions of dollars from people. Donald Trump is currently taking billions of dollars from people with his BS tariffs, with all of his policies that are screwing people over as job losses continue to increase and prices continue to go up. But he's talking about other people taking billions. Now, there was a corrupt scheme going on with folks in the Somali community up in Minnesota that were doing this corrupt scheme. You know where that happens? Everywhere. Do you know what races of groups have done that? White folks, black folks, Asians. Did you know that there's criminals of every background? Donald Trump doesn't know that because Donald Trump is a racist. All Donald Trump sees is ways that he thinks he's better than other folks. So he's piggybacking off of that issue and claiming that Somalians, they're all destructive and we have to send them back. Ilhan Omar shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman. When is a reporter going to say, have you completely opened up to your fascism yet, Mr. President? Because that's all we're hearing is fascism. In what way should Ilhan Omar not be a congressperson? Why should she be thrown out of the country? Is that part of your mass immigration plan that you said you're going after the worst of the worst? Or is that a whole part of your lies that you've been telling? I'm just trying to figure out when someone's finally going to stand up to him and say, yo, listen, we're hearing what you're saying, and we don't want this Klansman in the White House anymore. He wasn't even done, bro.
And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with, go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. All she does is complain about this country. And without this country, she would not be in very good shape. She probably wouldn't be alive right now. So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon, I hope. But what Somalia, what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor. A lot of it starts with Barack Hussein Obama, because that's when people started coming in. And you have to have people come in that are going to love our country, cherish our country. They want to kiss our country goodnight. They talk about our country. We want them to pray for our country. This is not the people living in Minnesota. And she's a disaster. She should not be, and her friends shouldn't be allowed. Frankly, they shouldn't even be allowed to be congresspeople, okay? They shouldn't even be allowed to be congresspeople because they don't represent the interests of our country. Anybody else?
Not only Ilhan Omar shouldn't be congresspeople, but anyone that's her friends. What is he talking about? Did you notice he has this hatred for the Constitution? He didn't even finish that sentence. He said, and Ilhan Omar walks around saying the Constitution provides me with, why don't you go back to your own country? I thought you were in favor of the Constitution. If someone cites what the Constitution provides citizens and you hate that, that means you hate the Constitution. I mean, he's just letting us know who he is. We heard the tirades, we heard the hatred, we heard the racism. It's seeping from his fucking skull. It's who he is. But again, Somalia is the worst country on earth. This is the thing. We sat there and watched him go on that. There's people surrounding him. There's people standing behind him. There's people that were kissing his ass. And the problem with that is we watch that, and that's part of the normalization of this. If that wasn't on video, and then someone cited it and wrote it in the New York Times and said, exclusive, Donald Trump behind closed doors had this long tirade about Somalia, they would deny it and say fake news. Donald Trump loves this country. But he said it in front of everyone. So now apparently it has to be the good thing that we're doing. Just like his sorry ass falling asleep in his cabinet meetings, and Laura Ingraham suddenly falls asleep during the day too. They just adjust and shift to being an extra pimple on his ass. Here's another one of those. It's Tom Emmer. He's a representative from Minnesota. So this is how it gets normalized. Donald Trump says all that. Tom Emmer says this.
I'm just grateful that you're reporting it. And the reason that it's getting reported is because Donald Trump, President Trump, finally made this a national issue when he sent out a truth a couple of weeks ago. We've been trying to sound the alarm in Minnesota for more than 3 years. Everybody's focused right now on $1 billion plus in fraud that has been stolen from Minnesota taxpayers, and a lot of it allegedly has been sent to Al-Shabaab back in Somalia, a terrorist group. But you know what we're not talking about today? Do you realize that, it's not that all Somalis are committing crimes, but 80% of the crimes being committed in the Twin Cities in Minnesota are being committed by Somalis. And by the way, the FBI has been investigating Somali gangs in the Twin Cities now for months. I am grateful that President Trump has raised this to a national issue. This is it's kind of like a small version of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing at our southern border for the last 4 years. Tim Walz is as corrupt as the and incompetent as the day is long. You got $1 billion of fraud. You got the largest fraud case in a pandemic fraud case in the country.
Tom Emmer went in the closet, snatched off his Klan's hood, and stepped out and had that interview. 80% of the crimes in the Twin Cities area are being committed by Somalis. 80% of all the crimes in the Twin City area is being committed by Somalis. I'm not saying that they're all criminals. I'm just saying 80% of them are criminals. And I'm also saying that Donald Trump, who I back up, is in favor of getting rid of all of them, making it illegal that if you're too brown or if you're from Somalia originally, that, you shouldn't be allowed to be a congressperson, because Tom Emmer is a fucking racist.
By feeding our future, which they indicted 70 some people, and the convictions keep coming, by the way, all Somalians. So for him to say that this is more than just Somalians is one, you pointed out, not accurate. Yeah, there might be one or two other people, but the vast majority come from the Somali community. By the way, I want to point out, not all Somalians are criminals, but it happens to be that this criminal activity has been committed by Somalians that are in the community in Minnesota. And by
he doesn't have to keep giving that, weird disclaimer at the beginning. I'm not saying all. It's such the basic racist thing. I'm not saying all insert the group that I hate is the worst, but I'm saying that damn near all of them are. It's in their genes. They're lesser individuals. They don't have the mental capacity to do anything else. While we watch a bunch of dumbass white folks in this guy's administration not have the mental capacity to do anything except conduct corrupt deals and break the law at every turn and then lie about it afterwards. I guess that's the principles of the Republican Party, the MAGA Republican Party, that's about their white nationalism. You know what I wanted to do? I had this whole thing where I'm listening to all these racists all the time. It was specifically with this particular story. Why don't we give a voice to the folks that they keep on attacking? I'd like to hear from Ilhan Omar as she's responding to, first off, what Tom Emmer's doing and also what Donald Trump is up to.
And I'm not expecting any of them to develop a backbone now and to stand up for their colleague or our Minnesota, Republican representatives to stand up for their constituents. And earlier you said I represent the most Somalis in Minnesota, and that actually is not a fact. Most Somalis live in the different congressional districts that are mostly represented by Republicans, including the Republican whip of the House.
The New York
And the Republican whip of the House is Tom Emmer, who just said about all those Somalis that are living in his community that he's supposed to represent. We forgot what that term means. That they're all criminals. I'm sorry, 80% of them are criminals, or they're committing 80% of all the crimes. No follow-up questions from the guys over at Fox Business to ask Tom Emmer, what's this based off of? Which crime stats are you bringing up? Do crime stats actually look into whether or not someone is Somali or not before they submit this whole criminal investigation or before they convict and even charge someone? Do they go, Somali? Let's put that in the Somali box. It's lies. It's made up. It's racism. Because ignorant people are racist. They don't think very clearly. They're all wrapped up in their white supremacy too much to even go that route. But as I said off the jump, people were standing around and surrounding Donald Trump as he went on these tirades. And I asked the question too. Ilhan Omar was also over on Joy Reid's podcast here. And they were discussing how all these losers are standing there nodding their heads and shaking hands and rubbing this guy's shoulders as he goes into these racist tirades. They discussed it.
But also the cabinet members who applauded and the media who were silent in that room. Because, Trump is one thing. We already know what he is. What do you make of the fact that the reaction to that was no follow-up question from any press and applause from his cabinet?
I mean, these are people, who are not that dissimilar from him, that are in his cabinet. They all have their slew of bigoted, racist, xenophobic, Islamophobic things that he said. Hegseth has white supremacist tattoos, and Christian supremacist tattoos. So, these are not people that you would expect to react any differently. And I think the press in many ways that covers the White House, I think have gotten used to his bigotry. They all have, I think, that delayed reaction, and they've all gotten used to all of his lies. That's why there's rarely a follow-up. But they also have gotten used to his abuse. You know, this is a very abusive, deranged old man. And I think for a lot of people, it's still shocking, it's still jarring that he is the president of our country.
I mean, I'm not sure if the fact that he's the president is the drawing part, considering so many people are just like him. And he recruited the people that are just like him, like Tom Emmer, to come forward and be their true, blatant racist selves. So I hope enough folks in his community, whenever he's up for re-election, remember that he hates them, that he's actually not representing them, and that actually he's feeding them to more of this racism that Donald Trump wants to then initiate into more policy, as they then go and send folks into these other states. I believe Louisiana, Minnesota, they're all going to new states and new cities to go and attack folks. Again, based off of this same blatant racism. So as we wrap this whole little story up, I just want to remind folks, whenever we've talked about racism and racist rhetoric and people say, yo, why can't people just be open to say all the bullshit that they want to say? We can have a debate over whether or not you think I should be dead. So instead of us having debates over whether or not you think I shouldn't be allowed to stay in this country, shouldn't be allowed to work in this country, shouldn't be allowed to thrive, have housing and a job in this country, all those things that they don't think other folks they think are beneath them are allowed to have in this country, it all leads to policies from a racist president who then says, I'm going to make sure all those things happen in that way. Zero representation for these folks. And Tom Emmer is on board for that because they're racists. There's a reason that your rhetoric can then lead to this type of stuff if you think you got enough people that are convinced to go along with it. Little do they know, when they fuck up the country and blame it all on these immigrants, they're fucking up the country also for all these white folks who think they're so much better. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Let's move on. Last story. Last one. This at least made me laugh a little bit at the beginning. Scott Besson was at one of these economic forums and talking to the CNBC host about the Trump economy, you know, the one that sucks, the one that they keep lying to you and telling you is in a golden age, while at the same time, you know, you don't have a job and also prices are skyrocketing. That economy. Scott Besson tried floating his latest lie about inflation and how it's, you know, divided in certain areas.
When I was on Squawk Box last week, Becky said, well, Susan Collins at the Boston Fed says this. And, you know, that her people in her district are having an affordability problem. I should have said, well, she's in a red state. Affordability is worse. In a blue state, affordability is worse than a blue state.
We can debate that, but keep going.
There's no debate. The number 50 basis points higher inflation, the 10 highest, the inflation rates, they are in blue cities, but
just so you know, because I went to look at this. This is the Joint Economic Committee, since 2021. The highest inflation of the past 4 years has been in red states, especially Florida.
I'm talking about current.
Current. Not over the past 4 years.
Right. Today.
Okay. I would think 4 years would be a reasonable trend line to look at.
Scott Besson apparently has, you know, zero awareness, and he doesn't mind apparently being embarrassed in front of everyone with this same lie about, you know, inflation is peaking in only blue state areas. I'm sorry, blue cities and then blue states. What a ridiculous thing to say. What a dumbass he is. So when confronted with that lie, because it's pretty easy to dispel because he keeps telling it, he was called out, and suddenly the story shifts to more reasons why his lie is somehow reality. This guy is embarrassing. This guy is in charge of things that actually affect your life. He's still talking.
Today it is 50 basis points higher. So anyway, and look, the people are voting with their feet. I have the American people on my side. That New York, Illinois, California, Massachusetts are depopulating.
And they're going to places in Florida, like Florida, where interest rates are I'm saying inflation's up 22% over the last 4 years.
Well, inflation is up 25% nationally, so it's lower.
I believe in New York it was 19%.
Sorry?
I believe in New York it was 19%.
I don't think that's right.
We can go through the math.
But
Oops, fucked up again. Sorry about that. When he was again confronted with reality, it was say what? What's that again? Huh? What I was saying is that you're a liar. What I'm saying is that this line that you're giving me is a lie. What I'm saying is that we shouldn't listen to you anymore. At that moment, I think it's Sorkin. I believe that's the CNBC anchor's name. His last name at least is Sorkin. Aaron. I don't know his name. At that point is then when the next step comes. Thank you, Mr. Treasury Secretary. Get the fuck off the stage because we don't need to hear any more of your lies. Anything else you say here will ruin our credibility. And if anybody takes anything else that you say from this forum that we've just discovered you're lying at, why are we talking to you? This is supposed to be something productive. This is supposed to be informative, not full of lies. Step off to the stage to the left. The man with the black outfit on, that's the stagehand, will see your sorry ass off. When are we going to start kicking liars off of stages and off of platforms to stop lying to us? We won't, because that would be rude. Instead, what they want you to do is listen to this same president surrounded by all these yes men and women say this type of shit.
It's a con job. I think affordability is the greatest con job. They look at you and they say, affordability. They don't say anything else. Everyone says, oh, their prices were so low. No, they had the worst inflation. It's a con.
Hold on. I'm going to play that again. Look at Ted Cruz's sorry bitch ass. Look at him standing over Donald Trump's shoulder as Donald Trump talks about how affordability, the word that he never heard of before, is a con job.
Con job. I think affordability is the greatest con job. They look at you and they say, affordability. They don't say anything else. Everyone says, oh, their prices were so low. No, they had the worst inflation. It's a con.
What is he talking about? What does he mean? What is it that Ted Cruz is shaking his head at? They say affordability. What are you nodding your head about? What is it you agree with? What's in your head outside of this is a family show. I'm not going to say all the things that I'd like to say about Ted Cruz, but I will remind you that Ted Cruz got his ass kicked by Donald Trump. And Ted Cruz said he's never going to support this guy. Ted Cruz said he's an outright liar. Ted Cruz was Ted Cruz's wife was called ugly, and the beans would be spilled on her by this guy that he's standing over and nodding his head over right before he kneels and kisses his ass. And he has to go home to his wife again. That'll, I guess, ask him, how was it? And he has to say, it was great. We talk shit about you a little bit more today. That's Ted Cruz. And those are the type of people that embolden and also help this guy out. But they're never right. They just kind of keep saying things. It would be embarrassing if people called them out enough. If every time they walked on the street, someone would say, hey, liar, go inside. We don't want to see your face out here anymore before I fuck you up. Maybe that should be what people say to people like this. Instead, after Donald Trump says that affordability is somehow this con job, people like Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, which I don't know why he's talking about it, he gives the complete opposite perception of what it is Donald Trump thinks about affordability.
Works for me. And by the way, at the same time, if I can bring the price of that vehicle down, the American consumer is a winner. And so President Trump has, and I hear him talk about it publicly, and I hear him talk about it privately. He cares about how with the affordability for the American consumer. And he gets frustrated when we saw the inflation of the last administration, the price increases because of, say, fuel economy standards. There was no affordability. And he's actually working to make these products more affordable for the American consumer, going so far, and I was just telling Phil this, with energy dominance and bringing gas prices down as well.
Mr. Secretary,
works for me.
Are gas prices down? Is he working on affordability? Because apparently privately and publicly, all Sean Duffy hears Donald Trump talk about is affordability. He talks about it, but as he's talking about it, do any ideas come forward outside of how can we fool people into thinking that we give any kind of damn about this? Because again, there's talk and there's rhetoric and there's propaganda and then there's reality. Do you guys remember the whole thing about the Bureau of Labor Statistics? We're supposed to get job numbers, supposed to get unemployment numbers, supposed to get all these metrics to determine what's going on with the economy. We still don't have that because they nixed that whole thing because they suck. But we're still getting every once in a while some numbers. Think about this affordability thing and how Donald Trump cares all about it versus the reality that they spoke about on CNBC.
Big miss on the ADP payrolls. The private payroll company saying private payroll shed 32,000 workers in November. That's the fourth negative number in the past 6 months for this series. Take a look here. The estimate was for 40,000, so the street was off on this one. And how did you get there? Well, goods producing shed 19,000 workers, service producing shedding 13,000 workers. But the big story here, and I'll show you more detail on this, is what's happening with small business, down 120,000. Medium and large business doing okay, up 51 and 39,000 respectively. But take a look at this chart here. Virtually all of the job losses have come from small business, which has been negative in 6 of 7 months since April. Without those losses, ADP numbers would actually be positive, but you can't get rid of it. You can't exclude small business. And then you look at it by sector. Well, we've seen those two sectors do it. Education, health services, leisure, hospitality leading the way, but manufacturing down, information down, and professional business services down by 26,000. At least according to ADP, additional weakness in the job market, and small business getting hammered. And there is some information that some of this may be coming from being hammered by the tariffs.
Just a little indication that potentially this is all coming from being hammered by the tariffs. Maybe. I mean, outside chance. What's the problem with just saying it? It's what we're seeing. It's what we're experiencing. It's what we've noticed. Just say it, bro. So we've 32,000 job loss, and they estimated 40,000 add-ons. Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird how that keeps happening? But we just keep moving on and acting like everything that they're saying makes any kind of sense. So at what point? I mean, look, it's the beginning of December. At what point do we expect this golden age to kick in? Washington Post put together this mashup, and man, I'm a little jealous of it because it was really well done. This is what I've been seeing all year, and I'm gonna have to start trying to collect all these together because this was a fabulous mashup to show the runaround that they're giving us and to expect you to keep believing them.
January 20th will turn the economy around very quickly. The United States is going to take off like a rocket ship. But really, it's already doing it.
These prices are coming down, and the process starts April 2nd. That's a whole lot of growth, and you're going to get that starting in the fourth quarter.
This is Biden, and you can even say the next quarter is sort of Biden because it doesn't just happen on a daily or an hourly basis.
The one big beautiful bill will start kicking in, I predict, in the fourth quarter, and I think 2026 could be gangbusters.
Our big year won't be really next year. I think it'll be the year after, because when these plants start opening up, it takes a period of time to build them.
Our economy, the Donald Trump economy, is coming in the beginning of next year.
Those companies, they're all coming back now to the United States. You're going to see that kick in probably in a year or so.
Mm-hmm. So,
but we're doing well anyway.
I think we are going to see a substantial acceleration in the economy in the second quarter.
You are going to see job numbers in the second half of next year that are going to blow you away.
I am very optimistic about the first, second, and accelerating into the third quarter in terms of growth.
It's going to take a little bit of time for every American to feel that economic boom, which we really do believe is coming. We believe that we're on the front end of it.
Is it here yet? We keep looking for it as they demand that interest rates drop, or even as they've seen those issues, I think on Fox News or Business as well, as they've seen those bad job numbers. They're like, well, maybe interest rates will drop. That's what they're waiting on, even though they're demanding interest rates to drop with the claim that the economy is booming, that we're in the golden age. I'm going to get out with this one, you guys. Speaking of Fox News, they did have a panel of folks on. Martha McCollum was talking to a couple of these guys and pitched them some of these pitches and proposals and promises that Donald Trump has on the economy. One being, very specifically in this case, that whole thing about the tariff revenue. The money, the $2,000 or so that they said they're going to give back to the American hard workers, which ain't shit, by the way, especially based on how much more folks have to pay for everything. that whole idea, and when we already saw them backpedal on it in the first place, here's the logistics why. Even though Martha McCollum here keeps trying to carry the water for Donald Trump's lies.
I don't know if he really believes that it's doable. I think the ideology of lessening people's taxes is one thing. Steve mentioned the $2.5 trillion of receipts. There's no source of revenue that's going to replace that. And we look at the deficit we're already in today, 2.2 isn't even enough. So I think that President Trump is acknowledging the affordability, even though he doesn't want to use that word. 76% of people think it's a word. This idea that you started the show with there's going to be a dividend, that's never going to happen.
You don't think that people will get $2,000 in the tariff dividend?
Where's the money coming from?
It's coming from everything that they have presented to us about these tariff deals and that we got such a raw deal over the last several decades. He pointed specifically to South Korea and Japan. A lot of our friends, he said, I don't want to mention our allies. And then he started naming these countries by rote.
I think you're going to have consumers more focused on how are you going to lower my housing costs? How are you going to lower my food prices? I appreciate that you want to give me money back, but if you could just lower things, that'd be better.
All you do is ask simple questions. How would that happen? I just believe Donald Trump. That sounds like a fascist that's telling you what your reality is. So that's Martha McCollum's job, actually. She doesn't really believe him either. She's not that dumb. She doesn't believe him. She's there to carry the water and get that paycheck. So no more of that. Anyways, glad you guys were here. Glad we went over for a couple minutes, at least to get that last part in, because I think it's important. Continue to know what's happening with our economy, continue to know the lies that they keep telling, and continue to see how people actually get to what it is that they want in this country. And what they get is pardons if you're a criminal, as long as you're rich enough to pay for them. Also, I guess if you're a child sex trafficker or a pedophile yourself, you get off scot-free because you're in good company with Donald Trump. That's who's running this country. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. It's Friday. Shit, it's Friday. On your way out, those of you guys that hung around, don't forget to press that like button. You guys also subscribe. Let me know that you guys are always here. Hit me up on Instagram, bro. I mean, I say hey every once in a while back. I mean, it took me a minute to get to a bunch of messages over Thanksgiving because I stayed away, but still, I love hearing from you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Get your drinks ready. I'm going to figure out what energy drink I'm going to bring on tomorrow because this is my last month of energy drinking. I'm telling you, I don't do New Year's resolutions. So I'm going to try because why not? This might be my last month of doing these because you guys keep telling me that this is killing me, but I'll have one tomorrow. We'll see you guys then and we'll discuss more things on a Friday. Until then, have an excellent Thursday.